Hello, story lovers, and welcome to Cheating Tales Lab. We're grateful for having such amazing viewers like you. Tell us, which part of the world are you watching from today? Morning coffee or evening wind down? Share below. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Seeds of Deceit. Marcus Thorne's fingers moved swiftly across the calculator, double-checking the numbers for his daughter's college funds. The office building had emptied hours ago, but he remained, surrounded by spreadsheets and financial projections. His second job as a financial consultant demanded late nights, but the thought of securing Lily and Daisy's future made every hour worth it. Just need another $50,000 per account, he muttered, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. The twins would turn 18 in 13 years, and Marcus had calculated the projected college costs down to the last dollar. He wouldn't let them struggle as he had. His phone buzzed. A text from Isabella. Working late again? Marcus typed back. Almost done. Kiss the girls good night for me. No response came. He didn't expect one anymore. The memory of last weekend floated unbidden to his mind. Lily and Daisy, their dark curls bouncing as they raced through the backyard, their laughter pure joy. Isabella had stood apart, arms crossed, watching him push them on the swings. Higher, Daddy. Higher, they'd squealed. Marcus, be careful, Isabella had called out, her voice tight with what he now recognized as barely concealed disdain. He'd built those swings himself, calculated the precise angle and tension needed for maximum safety and enjoyment. Just as he'd calculated everything else in his life, the mortgage payments, investment portfolios, retirement plans. A life of stability, brick by brick. The office phone rang, startling him from his reverie. The caller ID showed it was the security desk. Mr. Thorne? Your wife just called. Said she's been trying to reach you, but your cell isn't working. Asked me to let you know she'll be late tonight. Book club running long. Marcus frowned. His phone showed full bars, no missed calls. Thank you, Paul. He pulled up his banking app, a habit he'd developed lately. There it was, another charge from La Maison, an upscale restaurant across town. The third time this month. Isabella's book club was getting expensive. The drive home took 15 minutes. Marcus parked in the garage, but didn't get out immediately. The house loomed silent, dark except for Eleanor's bedroom light. His sister had moved in 6 months ago after losing her job, another calculation that had made sense at the time. He found Eleanor in the kitchen, drinking tea. The girls, he asked. Asleep. Isabella called, said Dash. Book club. I know. Eleanor wouldn't meet his eyes. She never did anymore when discussing Isabella. Marcus climbed the stairs to the twins' room. Lily and Daisy lay curled together in Lily's bed, as they often did. Their faces, so alike, relaxed in sleep. He touched their dark curls, his mother's curls, everyone said, though he barely remembered her now. I'll give you everything I never had, he whispered. His home office remained exactly as he'd left it that morning. Marcus was a man of precision. Files arranged by category and date, books alphabetized, pens aligned perfectly parallel. He sat at his desk and opened his laptop. The traffic camera footage loaded slowly. He'd gained access through his contacts at the civil engineering firm, telling them he needed to study traffic patterns for a new project. Another calculation, another justified lie. 9:47 p.m. Isabella's red BMW turning not toward the library where her book club met, but toward the expensive side of town. His phone buzzed again. Isabella had forgotten to switch numbers this time. I'll be home late, don't wait up. Book clubs having an intense discussion. Marcus shifted to another camera feed. La Maison's parking lot. Isabella's BMW parked next to a black Mercedes he recognized. Damian Cross, real estate developer, frequent donor to local charities. They'd met at a fundraiser last year. He switched to his email, opened the DNA test results he'd received that morning. The twin samples had been easy to obtain, a few strands of hair from their brushes. His own sample had taken longer to process. 99.9% probability of no genetic relationship. The numbers didn't lie. They never did. Marcus closed his laptop and moved to the window. From here, he could see the college savings books on his desk, the family photos on the wall, the life he'd built with mathematical precision, all of it based on a false equation. His phone buzzed one final time. Eleanor had left her phone downstairs, Unlocked? The message notification glowed. He thinks he's such a great dad, working 2 jobs for their college funds. The twins are yours, and his sister helped me hide it. The timestamp showed 11:42 p.m. The recipient, Damien Cross. Marcus placed the phone down gently. Inside his chest, something shifted, not breaking, but hardening, crystallizing into something new. He opened a new spreadsheet and began to type. Assets, account numbers, properties. The foundation of a different kind of calculation. In their room, the twins slept on, unaware that their father had died that night. In his place stood something else, an architect of a different kind of future. His fingers moved across the keyboard, no longer concerned with college funds. The numbers now served a new purpose. Not creation, but destruction. Not protection, but revenge. Outside, Isabella's BMW pulled into the driveway. High heels clicked on pavement. A key turned in the lock. Marcus kept typing, his face illuminated by the screen's cold light. The equation had changed, but the precision remained. He would solve this problem like he solved all others, with absolute, unflinching efficiency. The door to his office opened. Isabella stood there, her lipstick slightly smeared, her book club outfit carefully straightened. "You're still up," she said. Marcus looked at his wife, the mother of children who were not his, the keeper of betrayals both past and present. He smiled, and something in that smile made her step back. "Just finishing some calculations," he said. He turned back to his spreadsheet, already plotting the coordinates of her destruction. Behind him, Isabella closed the door quietly, unaware that she just witnessed the last trace of mercy her husband would ever show her. In their bed that night, Isabella slept soundly while Marcus lay awake, his mind racing with new equations. Variables shifted and aligned. Bank accounts, property deeds, offshore holdings. Each number a weapon, each calculation a step toward annihilation. The Marcus who had built swings and saved for college funds was gone. In his place lay a man who would dismantle everything he'd built, just to ensure those who betrayed him would suffocate beneath the rubble. Chapter 2. The Implosion. The next 3 months passed in a parade of careful movements. Marcus transferred funds between accounts, each transaction calculated to avoid detection. He sold investments through shell companies, converted assets into untraceable forms. His engineering mind approached the task like designing a controlled demolition, identifying load-bearing structures, planning the sequence of collapse. Isabella noticed nothing. She continued her book club meetings, each one meticulously documented in Marcus's growing file of surveillance photos and financial records. Damien's black Mercedes appeared in more traffic camera footage, always parking just far enough from Isabella's BMW to maintain deniability. Eleanor grew nervous around him, sensing the change but unable to name it. She spent more time in her room, avoiding his gaze across the breakfast table. The twins remained his only constant, their love uncomplicated by knowledge of betrayal. "Daddy, will you help with my science project?" Daisy asked one evening. Marcus looked up from his laptop, where he'd been tracking Damien's latest real estate ventures. "Of course, Princess. What are we building?" "A volcano. Miss Thompson says we need to make it erupt." He spent the next hour helping her mix baking soda and vinegar, showing her how chemical reactions worked. Lily joined them, and soon both girls were giggling as foam erupted from their papier-mâché creation. "Again!" they shouted. Marcus watched them play, memorizing their faces, their laughter. Soon, everything would change. He'd already arranged for private investigators to document every aspect of Isabella and Damien's affair, hired forensic accountants to trace their financial entanglements. That night, he added another entry to his journal. Day 94. Asset liquidation 60% complete. Offshore accounts established through Singapore and Cayman Islands. D's real estate empire built on fraudulent loans, evidence secured. E's involvement documented through text messages and banking records. DNA results confirmed twice. He stored the journal in a secure location, along with videos he'd recorded for the twins. They deserved to know the truth someday, to understand why he'd done what he was about to do. Thanksgiving approached like a countdown. Marcus watched Isabella plan the dinner, invite guests, arrange flowers. Damien would attend with his wife, A final insult Marcus would use to maximum effect. The morning of Thanksgiving, he made one last video for the twins. Lily, Daisy, my daughters in every way that matters. By the time you see this, everything will have changed. Remember that I love you, that everything I've done was to protect you from lies and manipulation. Someday you'll understand. He placed the USB drive with the video in his hidden cache of evidence, along with the DNA results and surveillance photos. Then he put on his suit, charcoal gray, precisely pressed, and went downstairs to help prepare dinner. The table looked perfect. Isabella had outdone herself. Fine china, crystal glasses, autumn centerpieces. Eleanor fluttered around, adjusting place settings with nervous energy. Guests arrived in waves. Neighbors, colleagues, friends. Damien and his wife came last. Marcus. Damien's handshake was firm, confident. How's the engineering business? Calculating as ever, Marcus replied, watching Damien's hand settle on the small of Isabella's back when he thought no one was looking. They sat down to dinner. Marcus remained silent as conversations flowed around him. He waited until the turkey had been carved, until glasses had been filled, until the perfect moment arrived. I'd like to make a toast, he said, standing. All eyes turned to him. To family. To truth. To consequences. He reached under his chair and withdrew a manila envelope. From it, he removed the DNA results, credit card statements, surveillance photos. He laid them on the table one by one, each document landing like an explosive charge. These prove that my wife has been having an affair with Damien Cross for the past year. These prove that the twins are not my biological children. And these, he placed Eleanor's text messages last, prove that my sister helped hide this fact from me for 5 years. Silence fell like a blade. Isabella's face drained of color. Damien's wife stood up so quickly her wine glass tipped over, spreading red across the white tablecloth like blood. I've filed for divorce, Marcus continued, his voice steady. I've also forwarded evidence of Mr. Cross's financial fraud to the SEC. As for you, Eleanor, your role in this betrayal has been documented and will be made public unless you leave this house tonight. He turned to Isabella, who sat frozen in her chair. The ruins of what you have done will haunt you for the rest of your days, as they will haunt mine. Chaos erupted. Guests fled. Damien's wife screamed accusations. Isabella tried to speak, but Marcus silenced her with a look that made her physically recoil. Get out, he said quietly. All of you. Eleanor ran upstairs sobbing. Damien pulled Isabella away, their practiced discretion forgotten in panic. Within minutes, the house emptied, leaving Marcus alone at the destroyed dinner table. He sat there as darkness fell, surrounded by the evidence of betrayal and the remnants of his calculated revenge. Phase 1 was complete. The implosion had begun. The next morning, Isabella returned with Damien beside her, both armed with lawyers and bravado. You're making a mistake, Damien said, waving the divorce papers. We can destroy you. Marcus looked up from his laptop, where he'd been finalizing transfers to his offshore accounts. Check your accounts, Mr. Cross. Check your loan applications. Check the SEC investigation that begins today. Damien's phone buzzed. His face went pale as he read the notifications. What did you do? Isabella whispered. I did what I do best, Marcus replied. I calculated the cost of betrayal and ensured everyone pays their fair share. He stood, straightening his tie. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with the FBI about certain real estate transactions that might interest them. The girls Isabella started, are better off without a mother who lies and an aunt who enables those lies. Marcus walked to the door. My lawyers will contact you about custody arrangements. I suggest you focus on finding good criminal defense attorneys instead. He left them standing in his office, their perfect worlds crumbling around them. In his hidden safe, the journal waited with its meticulous records, the videos for his daughters preserved for the right moment. Marcus Thorne, the careful architect of family stability, had designed his masterpiece, not a home this time, but a precisely engineered destruction, and he was just getting started. Chapter 3. The Vanishing Act. The disappearance of Marcus Thorne occurred between one breath and the next. No dramatic exit, no final confrontation. just the calculated vanishing of a man who had once built his life on permanence. Isabella discovered it first, waking to find his closet empty, his personal items gone. She ran through the house in a panic, but every trace of him had been erased with surgical precision. His home office contained only furniture, files, computers, even family photos had vanished. "He's gone," she told Damien over the phone, her voice cracking. "Everything's gone." But they didn't understand the true scope of Marcus's disappearance until the banks opened. Isabella's attempts to access their joint accounts met with polite refusals. The house's mortgage had been paid in full. The twins' college funds remained, but under a trust she couldn't touch. Damien faced his own crisis. His real estate empire began to crumble as anonymous tips triggered investigations into his dealings. Loans were called in. Investors pulled out. Each disaster struck with calculated timing, like charges detonating in sequence. Eleanor, hiding in her apartment across town, received a single message. "Your betrayal earned this exile. Don't attempt contact." She tried anyway, sending emails that bounced back, calling numbers that no longer existed. Her guilt manifested in sleepless nights and endless attempts to explain herself to empty rooms. The twins, now 6, asked about their father constantly. "Where's Daddy? When is he coming back?" Isabella had no answers. The lawyers provided no information. Private investigators found nothing, no credit card traces, no property records, no digital footprint. Marcus Thorne had become a ghost. But ghosts, as Isabella and Damien would learn, could still haunt. 1 year passed. 2. 5. Each year brought new challenges, new disasters that struck with impossible precision. Damien's attempts to rebuild always failed, undermined by anonymous competitors or unexpected market shifts. Isabella found herself slowly isolated as rumors spread through their social circle, each revelation more damaging than the last. They never saw the figure watching from distant servers, tracking their movements through digital breadcrumbs. They never noticed the pattern of their destruction, an architect's blueprint made manifest in ruined lives and shattered reputations. Marcus, now known in certain circles as Phoenix, built his new identity with the same precision he'd once applied to engineering projects. He transformed himself through rigorous training, physical, mental, technological. His pain became fuel, his betrayal a foundation for something greater. The private island he acquired became his laboratory, his training ground. There, surrounded by cutting-edge technology and hand-picked experts, he refined himself into a weapon. "Sir," his assistant said one morning, "the AI analysis shows unusual activity in your old hometown." Marcus looked up from his workstation, where he'd been developing algorithms for his latest project. "Show me." The screens displayed familiar faces. Isabella, thinner now, less polished, arguing with Damien outside a courthouse. Their relationship had soured as their circumstances deteriorated. The AI's prediction models showed increasing stress patterns, approaching a breaking point. "Your daughter Lily won the state science fair," the assistant continued. "Daisy made the honor roll again." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The trust he'd established ensured their education and welfare, managed by lawyers who never revealed their benefactor's identity. He watched their progress from afar, recording messages they would receive when the time was right. "Keep monitoring the situation," he instructed. "Alert me to any significant changes." In his private quarters, Marcus reviewed the latest data from his surveillance systems. His initial revenge had been satisfying, but incomplete. The real destruction required patience, resources, and power, all of which he'd spent years accumulating. His personal transformation had been equally calculated. Gone was the quiet engineer in wire-rimmed glasses. The man who emerged from countless hours of training moved with predatory grace. His mind, always sharp, had been honed to a razor's edge through constant study and innovation. "Sir," his security chief interrupted. "The latest report from the investigators." Marcus accepted the tablet, scanning the contents. Damien had attempted to secure new financing through less reputable sources. Isabella had tried to contest the trust arrangement again, failing as she had every time before. "Their desperation grows," he noted. "Good." He turned to the wall of screens displaying his various projects. Phoenix Industries was taking shape, its technological innovations already drawing attention from major players in the field. Soon, very soon, he would be ready to reveal himself. "Prepare the jet," he ordered. "It's time to check on our investments personally." The private investigator's latest photos showed Isabella and Damien arguing outside an expensive restaurant, their last bastion of pretense at maintaining their former lifestyle. Their faces showed the strain of constant failure, of watching their carefully constructed worlds crumble piece by piece. Marcus's AI system had tracked every attempt they'd made to recover, every scheme to rebuild their fortunes. Each time, invisible obstacles appeared. Opportunities vanished, deals collapsed. They never saw the pattern, never realized that their every move was anticipated and countered before they made it. Eleanor had fared little better. His sister's attempts to rebuild her life met with subtle resistance. Not enough to destroy her completely, but sufficient to ensure she never forgot the cost of betrayal. Her messages to Isabella had grown increasingly desperate, blaming her for their shared downfall. In his secure vault, Marcus added another entry to his journal. Day 3650, Phase 1 nears completion. Phoenix Industries infrastructure in place. Surveillance confirms target's psychological stability deteriorating as planned. The twins continue to excel. Lily's scientific aptitude matches projected patterns, Daisy's analytical skills showing similar promise. Preparations for final phase of departure proceeding according to schedule. He closed the journal and turned to his reflection in the window. The years of focused training had transformed him physically, but the real change lay deeper. The man who had once built things to last now excelled at calculated destruction. The tropical sun set over his island compound, painting the sky in colors that reminded him of another life. Somewhere in his old hometown, Isabella and Damien were discovering another piece of their world had collapsed. Eleanor was facing another night alone with her guilt. And his daughters? His daughters were growing into brilliant young women, protected by his invisible hand, their futures secured by the same precision that was destroying their mother's present. Marcus smiled at his reflection, a smile that would have made Isabella and Damien run if they'd seen it. The vanishing act was nearly complete. Soon, Phoenix would rise from the ashes of Marcus Thorne's carefully dismantled life. The architect of revenge had built his masterpiece. All that remained was to watch it stand as a monument to the price of betrayal. Chapter 4. The Return of the Phoenix. The glass and steel tower of Phoenix Industries rose from the heart of the town like a monument to power. Its construction had taken 18 months, each detail overseen by the mysterious CEO who transformed the sleepy downtown into a hub of technological innovation. Isabella Thorne stood across the street, staring at the building that seemed to mock her very existence. 10 years had stripped away her polished exterior, leaving behind a woman whose designer clothes had been replaced by department store clearance items. "He's back," she whispered into her phone. "Impossible," Damien Cross snapped back. "Marcus disappeared. This Phoenix person is Dash. It's him. I saw the press conference footage. He's different, but it's him." Inside the tower, Marcus stood at his desk, watching the security feed of Isabella through cameras that tracked her every movement. A decade of focused training had transformed him from the mild-mannered engineer into something else entirely. Harder, sharper, more dangerous. "Sir," his head of security interrupted. "Mr. Cross is attempting to schedule a meeting through official channels." "Deny it," Marcus replied, his voice carrying none of the emotion that might have been there 10 years ago. "Route all their communication attempts through legal." He turned to another screen showing his daughters, now 15. Their faces so like their mother's, but their minds pure reflections of his own analytical nature. They'd received his messages, watched his videos, learned the truth about their mother's betrayal. Their response had been exactly what he'd calculated. "Dad." Lily's voice came through his secure communication channel. "We saw the announcement. Are you really back?" "I am," he replied, allowing a trace of warmth into his voice. "Are you ready?" "We've done everything you asked," Daisy chimed in. "Mom's been trying to talk to us, but we shut her down," Lily finished. "She doesn't deserve our time." Marcus smiled. "Good. Maintain your distance. The security team will continue monitoring your movements." He ended the call and pulled up the urban development plans he'd spent years crafting. Each proposal had been designed to systematically dismantle Damien's remaining real estate holdings. A park here, a community center there. Each project precisely positioned to devalue Cross properties while enhancing public spaces. The door opened, admitting his chief technology officer. The market analysis program is ready, sir. Initial tests show it can predict investment patterns with 98% accuracy. Deploy it, Marcus ordered. Focus on Cross Development's remaining assets first. He turned back to the security feed. Isabella had retreated, but he knew she'd return. They all would, drawn by the gravitational pull of his calculated return. Each move they made would bring them closer to their own destruction. His phone buzzed. Eleanor, now working at the local library, trying yet again to make contact. He let it ring. Her punishment wasn't finished yet. The next morning brought the first wave of his offensive. Phoenix Industries announced its Urban Renewal Initiative, promising billions in investment. The stock market responded immediately. Cross Development shares plummeted. Marcus. Damien's voice boomed across the lobby as he pushed past security. You can't ignore me forever. Marcus watched on the security feed as his team intercepted Damien. The once powerful developer had aged poorly, his expensive suit unable to hide the desperation in his bearing. Mr. Cross, Marcus's head of security said smoothly, Mr. Phoenix is unavailable. Please direct all communication through appropriate channels. Tell him I know who he is. Tell him Dav. Remove him, Marcus commanded through the security channel. He watched dispassionately as Damien was escorted out, his threats echoing through the lobby. Later that evening, Marcus sat in his private office, reviewing the day's progress. His AI systems tracked Isabella and Damien's movements, monitoring their phone calls, emails, and financial transactions. Their growing panic fed data into his prediction models, helping him anticipate their next desperate moves. A notification flashed, Isabella attempting to contact the twins again. The girls had followed his instructions perfectly, maintaining radio silence while his surveillance systems recorded their mother's increasingly frantic messages. You can't keep them from me forever. Isabella's voicemail played through his speakers. I'm their mother. Marcus deleted the message with a gesture. You lost that right when you betrayed us all, he murmured to the empty room. His revenge wasn't just about destruction now. It was about reconstruction, building a new future from the ashes of betrayal, with his daughters by his side and his enemies ground to dust beneath the foundation. The town's mayor requested a meeting the next day, eager to discuss Phoenix Industries' development plans. Marcus agreed, knowing the political support would further isolate Isabella and Damien from their remaining allies. The future is in innovation, he told the assembled city council, his presentation highlighting the benefits his company would bring. None of them recognized him. The quiet engineer had been erased, replaced by this commanding figure whose presence dominated the room. After the meeting, he stood at his office window, watching the sun set behind the skyline he would soon reshape. Below, Isabella lingered outside the building, her attempts to gain entry thwarted at every turn. Sir, his assistant interrupted. Your daughter's security detail reports Mrs. Thorne attempted contact at their school. Increase their protection, Marcus ordered, and send the school administration the legal documents restricting her access. He turned back to his screens, where news headlines announced Phoenix Industries' latest technological breakthroughs. His company wasn't just a vehicle for revenge. It was a testament to what betrayal had forged him into. The next week brought his first public appearance at a tech conference. Cameras flashed as he took the stage, his presence commanding instant attention. In the audience, Damien watched with growing horror as he recognized the man he'd once dismissed as weak. The future belongs to those who dare to rebuild it, Marcus told the crowd, his words carrying hidden barbs for those who knew where to look. Phoenix Industries isn't just about technology, it's about transformation. His announcement of a new AI-driven market analysis system sent shockwaves through the financial sector. By morning, Cross Development stock had dropped another 30%. Damien's desperate phone call came that evening. You've made your point. Whatever you want, name your price. Marcus let the call go to voicemail. There would be no negotiations, no mercy, no respite. The architect of revenge had designed this destruction down to the smallest detail, and he would watch it unfold exactly as planned. Chapter 5. The Spider's Web. The surveillance room in Phoenix Industries' basement hummed with activity. Dozens of screens displayed feeds from across the city, each one focused on specific targets. Marcus stood in the center, watching Isabella pace her apartment through high-resolution cameras. "Play the call," he commanded. The AI system activated, using Isabella's voice patterns to create a perfect simulation. Across town, her best friend's phone rang. "Sarah? It's Isabella. I need to tell you something about what really happened with Marcus." The confession, crafted from years of recorded conversations, would destroy another friendship. Marcus watched Isabella's real-time reaction as Sarah's angry texts began flooding in. "Sir," his tech chief reported, "the construction site sensors are in place." Marcus nodded, pulling up schematics of Damien's latest development project. Tiny sabotage devices, disguised as standard equipment sensors, waited to trigger seemingly random malfunctions. "Activate Sequence 1, he ordered. Across town, Damien Cross stood before potential investors, attempting to salvage his crumbling empire. As you can see, the projection for Phase 1 completion data. The construction equipment behind him sputtered and died, right on schedule. Investors exchanged worried glances as workers reported multiple simultaneous failures. Marcus allowed himself a small smile as he watched Damien's presentation dissolve into chaos. The real estate developer's desperation had driven him to cut corners, making it easy to plant agents throughout his organization. "Your sister is here again," his assistant reported. Through the lobby cameras, Marcus watched Eleanor fidget nervously. 10 years had added gray to her hair and lines to her face. Her job at the library barely covered her bills, another calculated effect of his return. "Send her away," he said. "Marcus, please." Eleanor's voice carried through the intercom. "I know you can hear me. I know what I did was unforgivable, but dash." He cut the audio. On screen, security escorted her out, her shoulders slumped in defeat. The afternoon brought another crisis for his targets. An anonymous tip led health inspectors to La Maison, the restaurant where Isabella and Damien had conducted their affair. The resulting investigation uncovered numerous violations. "How convenient," Isabella spat into her phone as Marcus listened through surveillance feeds. "The same restaurant where Damien, he's targeting everything connected to us." "He can't prove anything," Damien insisted, but his voice shook. "This is all coincidence. Like the construction failures? Like Sarah suddenly knowing details only you and I discussed in private? He's watching us, Damien. He's always watching." Marcus switched feeds, checking on his daughters. They sat in their advanced placement physics class, excelling just as he'd predicted. Their minds worked like his, analyzing, calculating, planning. Isabella's genes might have shaped their faces, but he'd shaped their intellects. An alert flashed, Damien attempting to access restricted financial records. Marcus had anticipated this move weeks ago, leaving subtle breadcrumbs that would lead his rival into a trap. "Let him through the first firewall," he instructed his security team. "Then activate the trace program." He watched Damien's desperate attempts to dig up dirt on Phoenix Industries. Each failed hack attempt, each frustrated search brought him closer to crossing legal lines that would trigger federal investigations. "Sir," his assistant interrupted, "Mrs. Thorne is attempting to reach the twins through their school's parent portal again." Marcus pulled up the relevant screens. Isabella's login attempts had grown more frequent, more desperate. Each failure pushed her further toward the edge he'd carefully calculated. "Maintain blocking protocols," he ordered, "and send another cease and desist letter to her lawyer." The next phase required perfect timing. Marcus activated his market manipulation program, using AI-driven algorithms to target the remaining fragments of Damien's business empire. By day's end, cross-development stock would hit new lows. His phone buzzed with a message from Lily. "Dad, Mom's getting more aggressive. She tried to approach us in the parking lot." "Stay with your security team," he replied. "I'll handle it." He pulled up another program, one designed to compile and analyze years of surveillance data. Isabella and Damien's every indiscretion, questionable deal, secret meeting had been documented and categorized. "Prepare the media package," he told his PR team. "Release the first wave tomorrow." The morning news would carry stories of financial irregularities at cross-development. Anonymous sources would hint at deeper investigations. Social media would buzz with carefully planted rumors. Marcus watched the city through his network of cameras, seeing the web of destruction expand exactly as he designed it. Isabella's social circle shrank with each revealed secret. Damien's business contacts abandoned him as evidence of fraud emerged. "Your lawyer is on line 1, his assistant reported. "Mrs. Thorne is threatening legal action over access to the twins. Send her the footage of her attempting to bribe their security detail," Marcus replied. "And copy it to the judge." He turned back to his screens, watching his enemies spiral into paranoia and desperation. The architect of revenge had built his web with precise calculations, and now he would watch them struggle until they broke themselves against its strands. Chapter 6. The Breaking Point. The conference room of Phoenix Industries buzzed with tension as Marcus watched the security feeds. Damien Cross stood in the lobby, demanding entry, his expensive suit wrinkled from a sleepless night. "Let him up," Marcus commanded. "It's time." He didn't turn when the door burst open. Damien's reflection in the window showed a man unraveling, hair disheveled, eyes wild with desperate anger. "You think you've won?" Damien's voice cracked. "You think you can just walk back in here and destroy everything I've built?" Marcus turned slowly, studying the man who'd helped destroy his family. "Everything you built, Mr. Cross? Or everything you stole? You smug bastard." Damien advanced, but security personnel materialized instantly. "You're behind all of it. The construction failures, the investigations, the leaked documents. Prove it." Marcus's voice carried no emotion. "Prove any of it. I'll kill you," Damien whispered. "I swear to God, I'll dash." Marcus pressed a button. On the wall screen, security footage played, Damien meeting with a known hitman in a parking garage. "That's an interesting choice of associates, Mr. Cross." The FBI found it particularly compelling. Color drained from Damien's face. "You set me up. You did that yourself. I merely documented it." The door opened again. Isabella stumbled in, held firmly by security. Her designer clothes hung loose on her frame, her makeup failing to hide sleepless nights. "Family reunion?" Marcus's voice dripped acid. "How fitting. Our daughters," Isabella began. "Your biological offspring," Marcus cut her off. "My daughters. The ones you lied about. The ones you betrayed. We were young," she pleaded. "I was unhappy, Daff. And now you're destroyed." Marcus stood. "Your social accounts frozen. Your reputation ruined. Your lover's empire reduced to ashes. Your own daughters want nothing to do with you." Damien lunged forward. Security caught him instantly, but Marcus didn't flinch. "You think this makes you strong?" Damien spat. "Hiding behind computers and lawyers?" Marcus smiled, a cold, brutal expression. "No, Mr. Cross. What makes me strong is watching you destroy yourselves trying to fight back." He pressed another button. More screens lit up, surveillance photos, bank records, recorded conversations. Years of evidence meticulously compiled. "The SEC investigation into cross-development starts tomorrow," he continued. "The FBI's interest in your recent activities won't help. And Isabella, those interesting conversations with potential hitmen? Not very maternal." Isabella sagged in security's grip. "How did you daff? I've watched you both for 10 years. Recorded everything. Calculated every move you'd make when I returned. And you performed exactly as predicted." He turned back to the window. "You thought I was weak. A fool you could betray and discard. Instead, I became the architect of your destruction." "Marcus, please," Isabella whispered. "For the sake of what we once what we once had was a lie." He didn't turn around. "Now you'll live with the consequences. Security, remove them. And make sure the press gets photos of their exit." Their protests faded as security dragged them out. Marcus watched their reflection disappear, then turned to his computers. More programs activated, more traps ready to spring. His phone buzzed. A message from the twins. "We saw them try to get in. Are you okay?" "Perfect," he replied. "Everything is proceeding exactly as planned." He pulled up news feeds showing Damien's arrest, right on schedule. Isabella's hysterical confrontation with reporters played on another screen. Their world crumbled brick by brick, just as he designed it. Eleanor's message came next. I saw the news. Brother, please. They deserve this, but dash. He deleted it without reading further. His sister's punishment wasn't physical destruction like the others, but the slow torture of watching from the sidelines, powerless to stop what she'd helped set in motion. The day's stock reports showed cross-development in free fall. Marcus's AI systems had predicted this too, the exact moment when market confidence would collapse completely. His assistant entered with more reports, social media tracking, surveillance summaries, financial analyses. Each page documented another crack in his enemy's foundations. Sir, she said, Mrs. Thorne tried to access the building again. Security had to forcibly remove her. Add it to the restraining order documentation, he replied. And make sure the twins' security detail is doubled. He stood at his window, watching his city transform. Phoenix Industries rose while cross-development fell. His former wife became a pariah while his daughters thrived under his protection. The architect's revenge reshaped skylines and lives. A final alert flashed, Damien attempting one last desperate move, trying to transfer funds before his accounts froze. Marcus watched the transaction fail, trapped by safeguards he'd installed years ago. The breaking point had arrived exactly as calculated. His enemies shattered against walls they never saw coming, destroyed by a man they'd foolishly underestimated. Marcus Thorne, the weak engineer they'd betrayed, had died a decade ago. In his place stood something far more dangerous, a man who'd turned revenge into an art form. The next morning's headlines screamed across multiple news outlets. Cross-development CEO arrested on fraud charge. Phoenix Industries revolutionizes urban planning. Scandal rocks local business community. Marcus watched the media frenzy through his wall of screens. Damien's perp walk played on repeat. The fallen developer in handcuffs, his composed facade finally shattered. Isabella's attempts to dodge reporters had been equally well documented, her desperate flight from cameras becoming instant social media fodder. His phone lit up with a secure message from Lily. They're showing Mom and Damien on all the news channels. Good. Stay focused on your studies, he replied. Let me handle the rest. The twins had inherited his analytical mind, their academic performance proving it. They understood the elegance of his revenge, appreciating of their mother's downfall. His security chief entered with fresh reports. Sir, we've detected multiple attempts to access our systems from cross-development's remaining servers. Spring the trap, Marcus ordered. He watched as Damien's desperate cyber attack triggered his prepared countermeasures. Within minutes, federal agents would receive anonymous tips about corporate espionage attempts. Isabella's latest voice message played through his speakers. You've taken everything. My daughters, my reputation, my life. Are you satisfied now? Marcus deleted it without response. Her suffering wasn't personal. It was simply the calculated result of her choices, the mathematical certainty of betrayal's cost. His assistant appeared with more updates. Mrs. Thorne attempted to breach security again. She was intercepted before reaching the executive floor. Add it to the file, he instructed, and activate the next phase of surveillance. New cameras activated across the city, tracking Isabella's increasingly erratic movements. Her social isolation had reached critical levels, exactly as his models had predicted. Former friends crossed streets to avoid her. Country club memberships were quietly revoked. Damien's remaining business partners scrambled to distance themselves, their own secrets now vulnerable to exposure. Marcus had mapped these relationships years ago, understanding how each connection would snap under pressure. His phone buzzed. Another message from Eleanor. The library board is meeting about my position. Please, Marcus. He let her suffering continue. Her punishment was watching helplessly as the consequences of her betrayal played out in slow motion. A notification flashed. Isabella attempting to withdraw funds from one of her remaining accounts. The transaction failed, blocked by algorithms he'd put in place years ago. Her financial strangulation continued according to schedule. Sir, his security chief interrupted. We've intercepted communications between Mr. Cross's associates. They're planning something desperate. Marcus pulled up the surveillance feeds. Show me. The cameras revealed Damien's former business partners meeting in secret, plotting one last attempt to save themselves. He'd anticipated this too, their predictable desperation feeding into his larger design. "Let them proceed," he ordered. "Then activate Contingency Protocol 7. He turned back to his screens, watching his enemy's final struggles. Isabella's attempts to rebuild her social life failed systematically, each new acquaintance receiving anonymous revelations about her past. Damien's legal troubles multiplied as more evidence emerged. The architect's revenge had reached its culmination. His calculations had predicted every move, every desperate attempt to escape the web he'd woven. Now he would watch the final pieces fall, exactly as designed. His creation, Phoenix Industries, stood as a monument to transformation, while his enemies crumbled to dust. The weak engineer they'd betrayed had become something far more powerful, the architect of their absolute destruction. Marcus stood at his window, watching his city transform. Behind him, screens displayed the real-time collapse of his enemies' lives. Their breaking point had arrived precisely on schedule, each shattered piece falling exactly where he'd calculated it would. The architect of revenge had built his masterpiece. Now he would watch it stand as an eternal monument to the price of betrayal. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. The security cameras caught them at 2:47 a.m., Isabella and Damien, attempting to breach Phoenix Industries through the service entrance. Marcus watched from his command center as his security team moved into position. "Sir," his head of security radioed. "They're armed. Disable them," Marcus ordered. "Non-lethal force only. I want them conscious for what comes next." The takedown took less than 30 seconds. His security team, ex-military professionals trained in precise interventions, had them subdued and zip-tied before they could raise their weapons. "Bring them to conference room A," Marcus instructed. It's time they understood exactly who they've been fighting. He turned to the massive holographic display dominating one wall. 10 years of surveillance data, financial records, and intercepted communications filled the screens. A decade of calculated revenge, ready to be revealed. The security team escorted Isabella and Damien in. They looked broken, their designer clothes replaced by cheap imitations, their faces haggard from weeks of paranoid sleeplessness. "Marcus," Isabella spat, struggling against her restraints. "Face us yourself, you coward." The holographic screen flickered to life, displaying Marcus's face in crystal clarity. "Why waste my time with physical presence when technology serves so much better? You destroyed everything." Damien lunged forward, only to be restrained. "My business, my reputation, Dash." "Your fraudulent business," Marcus corrected. "Your unearned reputation. Let me show you exactly how it happened." The screens shifted, displaying a timeline of their destruction. Each failed project, each leaked secret, each ruined relationship appeared in precise chronological order. 10 years ago, you thought you'd beaten me," Marcus continued. "You thought the quiet engineer who built things would simply disappear. Instead, I became someone capable of destroying everything you built." "Our daughters, Dash," Isabella began. "My daughters," Marcus cut her off, "who now understand exactly what kind of person their mother is. Would you like to see their real-time reaction to your attempted armed invasion?" Another screen lit up, showing Lily and Daisy watching the security feed. Their faces showed no sympathy, no connection to the woman who'd given birth to them. "They hate me because of you," Isabella screamed. "They hate you because of your choices," Marcus replied. "I merely ensured they had all the evidence." He displayed more footage. Isabella's affairs before Damien, her manipulations of Eleanor, her calculated exploitation of Marcus's devotion to family. "Your pattern of betrayal didn't start with me," he noted. "But I ensured it ended with me." Damien struggled against his restraints. "You think you're so superior? You're just a man with toys and money." "No, Mr. Cross. I'm the architect who designed your destruction." "Observe." The screens filled with documentation of Damien's criminal activities, fraud, bribery, money laundering. Each piece of evidence traced back to legitimate sources, none leading to Marcus's involvement. "The FBI receives this data in approximately 3 minutes," Marcus informed them. "Your attempted armed invasion of my facility simply accelerated the timeline." "You can't prove any of this," Damien blustered. I don't need to prove my involvement. The evidence of your crimes proves itself. The system you corrupted will now consume you. Isabella sagged in her chair. What do you want from us? Nothing, Marcus replied. You're simply experiencing the consequences of your choices. My revenge isn't about wanting anything from you. It's about ensuring you lose everything. The screens shifted again, showing their complete financial collapse. Account closures, asset seizures, legal judgments, all perfectly orchestrated to destroy them simultaneously. You've turned our daughters against us, Isabella whispered. No, you did that yourself. I merely showed them the truth. They made their own choices, just as you made yours. A notification flashed, Eleanor requesting access to the building. Marcus considered for a moment, then approved it. His sister entered, looking nervous but determined. Brother, she began. I know what I did was unforgivable, he finished. But unlike these two, you've shown genuine remorse. Your punishment has served its purpose. Eleanor stared at Isabella, her former friend, the woman who'd manipulated her into betraying her brother. I'm sorry, Marcus. For everything. Prove it, he replied. I have a position in my research division. Your choice if you want to earn back what you lost. Isabella lunged forward. You'll forgive her but not me? I was your wife. She betrayed me once, out of weakness, Marcus replied. You betrayed our entire family, repeatedly, out of selfish choice. The punishment fits the crime. The screens displayed new data, federal agents approaching the building. Right on schedule. Your attempted armed invasion ends badly for you, Marcus informed them. But then, everything ends badly for you. That was the design. He turned to his security team. Hold them for the FBI. Make sure they have full access to the weapons and surveillance footage. Isabella's final scream echoed through the room. I'll make you pay for this. You already have, Marcus replied through the hologram. You paid with everything you had, everything you were, everything you might have been. The transaction is complete. He cut the feed, watching through cameras as federal agents swarmed in. Damien's attempts to bargain failed instantly. Isabella's hysterics earned her no sympathy. Eleanor stood quietly, watching her former friend's final destruction. Will you ever truly forgive me, brother? Forgiveness isn't relevant, Marcus replied. You've learned. They haven't. It's that simple. He turned back to his screens, watching his daughter's reactions. They observed their mother's arrest with clinical detachment, a trait they'd learned from him. The architect's revenge had reached its culmination. Each piece had fallen exactly where he'd placed it, each betrayal repaid in full measure. Marcus allowed himself a small moment of satisfaction, not from their suffering, but from the pure mathematical perfection of their destruction. The engineer in him appreciated the clean lines of their downfall. Chapter 8. Seeds of Hope. The transformation of Marcus's childhood home into Phoenix Research Center took 6 months. He stood in the newly constructed main laboratory, watching his daughters explore the cutting-edge equipment with inherited. The quantum computing lab goes here, Lily pointed out, referencing the blueprints on her tablet. And the AI development center in the East Wing? Correct, Marcus replied. Your modifications to the original designs improved efficiency by 12%. Daisy looked up from her workstation. The new homeless shelter solar systems are online. Power generation is exceeding projections. His daughters had grown into versions of himself, brilliant, focused, uncompromising. They understood the duality of his nature. The destroyer who'd ruined their mother and the builder who'd given them a future of unlimited potential. Dad, Lily called out. The new urban farming prototype shows promising results. Crop yield is 30% above standard methods. Marcus moved to her terminal, examining the data. She'd improved his original design, just as he'd known she would. Both girls had inherited his gift for seeing patterns, for building better systems. The doors opened, admitting Eleanor. His sister had thrown herself into her work at the research center, driving herself to prove her worth. Her latest project, educational technology for underprivileged schools, showed real promise. The first round of scholarships has been awarded, she reported. 25 students from low-income families, all showing exceptional aptitude in science and engineering. Marcus nodded. Expand the program. double the number of recipients next quarter. He'd built his revenge, but he'd build his legacy with equal care. Phoenix Industries wasn't just about destruction anymore. It was about transformation. Sir, his assistant interrupted. The Urban Renewal Council is ready for your presentation. The meeting room filled with city officials and community leaders. Marcus stood before them, outlining his vision for the city's future. Each proposal balanced innovation with social impact, technology with human needs. Phoenix Industries isn't just about profit, he told them. It's about building something lasting, something meaningful. The irony didn't escape him. He destroyed lives. But now he'd use the same precision to improve them. His daughters watched from the front row, understanding the complexity of his nature. Later, in his private office, he reviewed the latest data from his surveillance systems. Isabella and Damien remained in federal custody, their trials approaching. Their attempts to bargain had failed. His evidence was too comprehensive, too irrefutable. Dad, Daisy entered, carrying new project proposals. I've been thinking about expanding the urban farming initiative. He studied her designs. She'd integrated AI systems with traditional agriculture, creating something entirely new. Innovation born from the ashes of destruction. Implement it, he said, and coordinate with the education department. I want students involved in the process. Eleanor brought coffee and joined them. She'd earned back a place in their lives, not through forgiveness, but through dedicated effort to make amends. The library renovation is ahead of schedule, she reported. The new technology center will open next month. Marcus pulled up the blueprints for his next project, a complete transformation of the city's infrastructure. His revenge had required destroying the old power structures. Now he'd build something better in their place. The quantum computing facility needs these modifications, Lily pointed out, marking changes on the designs. It'll increase processing power by 20%. He watched his daughters work, their minds as precise as his own. They'd witnessed his revenge unfold with clinical understanding, and now they helped him build with equal dedication. The screens behind them showed news coverage of Phoenix Industries' latest innovations. The company had become synonymous with progress, its dark origins forgotten by most. But Marcus remembered. The architect of revenge had become a different kind of architect, but he hadn't softened. His new projects showed the same ruthless as his revenge. They simply served a different purpose. The sustainable housing project is ready for Phase 2, Daisy announced. We can start construction next week. Marcus approved the plans. Each new project erased more traces of the past, replacing decay with innovation. The city that had witnessed his destruction would now witness his creation. Eleanor coordinated with his technical teams, her natural people skills finding productive use. She learned to channel her need to please into something constructive rather than destructive. The day ended with a family dinner in his private dining room, just Marcus, his daughters, and Eleanor. They discussed projects and plans, their conversation flowing with shared understanding of complex technical concepts. This was his real triumph, not just destroying those who'd betrayed him, but building something worthy from the wreckage. His daughters would inherit not just his wealth, but his vision for the future. The architect had designed both destruction and creation. Each blueprint, whether for revenge or renewal, showed the same attention to detail, the same uncompromising standards. Chapter 9. The New Dawn. Marcus stood on his private island's observation deck, watching his daughters pilot the new experimental aircraft they'd helped design. Below them, the city skyline showed the results of his decade-long transformation: modern, efficient, innovative. His phone buzzed with news alerts. Isabella's sentencing was complete, 20 years for conspiracy and attempted armed assault. Damien had received 30, his financial crimes adding to his sentence. Dad. Lily's voice came through the comm system. The new navigation system is performing perfectly. He watched them land with precise control. His daughters had become more than he'd imagined: brilliant, focused, unstoppable. They understood both the precision of revenge and the potential of creation. Eleanor approached with project updates. The research center had developed new technologies for urban sustainability, each innovation building on the last. The farming projects have increased yield by 40%, she reported. And the education initiative is showing remarkable results. Marcus nodded, reviewing the data on his tablet. He'd built his revenge with careful calculation, but he'd built his legacy. The observation deck screens displayed his transformed city. Where Damien's corrupt developments once stood, parks and community centers now thrived. Isabella's social circles had been replaced by networks of innovation and progress. "Sir," his assistant called, "the board is ready for the quarterly review." The meeting showed Phoenix Industries' continued growth. Each department reported breakthroughs, each project exceeded projections. His company had become a force for transformation, its dark origins forgotten by most. But Marcus remembered. The architect who designed perfect destruction had become equally skilled at creation. His revenge had required precision. His redemption demanded the same. "The new quantum encryption system is ready for testing," Daisy announced, joining them with technical readouts. "We've achieved breakthrough levels of security." He studied her work with pride. His daughters had inherited his gift for patterns, for seeing how pieces fit together. They'd watched him destroy their mother's world without flinching, understanding the necessity of consequences. The day ended with Marcus in his private study, reviewing his original journals. The careful documentation of revenge had become a blueprint for something larger, a transformation not just of individuals, but of an entire community. Isabella and Damien's destruction remained absolute. His revenge hadn't softened with time. It had simply become foundation for something more significant. Eleanor had earned her place in this new world, her redemption paid for with dedicated effort. She coordinated humanitarian projects now, her need to please others channeled into genuine service. The final page of his journal remained blank until now. Marcus wrote, "The architect's revenge reached perfection, each betrayal repaid in full measure. But the true victory lies not in destruction alone, but in building something greater from the ashes. The phoenix rises not just through death, but through transformation." He closed the journal and looked out over his city. The skyline showed his dual nature. The destroyer who'd ruined lives with precise calculation, and the builder who'd created new possibilities with equal care. His daughters landed another experimental aircraft, their control absolute. They were his true legacy, not just inheritors of his revenge, but architects of the future he designed. The screens showed final news coverage of Isabella and Damien's sentencing. Their destruction was complete, their lives ruined beyond recovery. Marcus felt no triumph, no satisfaction, only the cold certainty of mathematical inevitability. "Dad," Lily called through the comm, "we're ready to test the new propulsion system." He watched them prepare for another flight, their movements precise and controlled. They'd learned from both sides of him, the ruthless destroyer and the innovative creator. The architect's story had come full circle. His revenge had been perfect, his transformation complete. But he hadn't softened, hadn't compromised. The same precision that had designed destruction now designed progress. The phoenix had risen from the ashes of betrayal, not as a creature of pure revenge, but as something more complex, an architect of both destruction and creation, each executed with equal, ruthless precision. Marcus stood at his window one final time, watching his transformed world. The betrayers had paid their price. The future belonged to those who could build from the wreckage. And he had built something magnificent. Epilogue, Legacy of the Phoenix 20 years later. Phoenix Industries' global headquarters dominated the city skyline, its quantum glass panels adapting to the sunlight. At 70 stories, it stood as a monument to transformation, both of the city and the man who'd built it. Marcus Thorne, now in his early 50s, retained the sharp focus that had driven both his revenge and his renaissance. His hair had grayed at the temples, adding gravitas to his commanding presence. The quiet engineer had evolved into a technological visionary whose innovations had reshaped the world. In his private office at the tower's apex, Marcus reviewed the latest reports from his global operations. Phoenix Industries had expanded far beyond its origins, becoming a leader in quantum computing, sustainable technology, and urban development. "Dad," Lily's voice came through his secure communication system. "The Beijing Quantum Hub is online. All systems nominal." At 35, Lily Thorne served as Phoenix Industries' chief technology officer. She'd inherited her father's precise, analytical mind, channeling it into technological innovation. Her twin sister Daisy, as Chief Operations Officer, handled the company's global infrastructure. Good, Marcus replied. How's the Mars colony project progressing? Ahead of schedule, Daisy joined the call. The first habitat dome will be ready for deployment next month. His daughters had surpassed even his calculations, becoming forces of innovation in their own right. They'd witnessed his revenge as teenagers, understanding the necessity of consequences, and had grown into women who combined his ruthless precision with their own visionary genius. The screen shifted to show his next appointment, a parole hearing review. Isabella would be eligible for release in 6 months, her 20-year sentence nearly complete. Damien had another decade to serve, his financial crimes adding to his term. Marcus pulled up the surveillance feeds. Isabella had aged poorly in prison, her beauty destroyed by time and confinement. She'd attempted to contact the twins multiple times over the years, each letter returned unopened, each call declined. Ms. Thorne's latest appeal for early release, his legal chief reported, cites good behavior and completion of rehabilitation programs. Maintain opposition, Marcus instructed. Ensure the parole board receives complete documentation of her crimes. He hadn't thought about Isabella in years, except when such administrative matters required attention. His revenge had been absolute, transforming from active destruction to passive containment. She would serve her full sentence, then be released into a world where she had nothing. No money, no connections, no relationship with her daughters. Eleanor entered his office, carrying project updates from the Phoenix Research Center. At 50, she'd found her purpose running the company's humanitarian division. Her redemption, earned through years of dedicated service, had transformed her from enabler to innovator. The new educational AI is showing remarkable results, she reported. Test scores in participating schools have improved 60%. Marcus nodded, reviewing the data. The research center, built from his childhood home, had become a global hub for technological innovation. Eleanor had helped shape it into something that improved lives rather than destroying them. How are the grandchildren? She asked. A rare smile crossed Marcus's face. Both twins had married brilliant scientists from the research center, producing children who combined multiple generations of analytical genius. His grandchildren showed the same gift for patterns and innovation that had driven both his revenge and his creation. Alex started coding at 4, he replied. Sarah's already showing aptitude for quantum mechanics. His revenge had shaped not just his enemy's destruction, but his own family's rise. The twins had grown up understanding both sides of power, the capacity to destroy and the obligation to build. Their children would inherit not just wealth and technology, but this fundamental understanding of consequences. The afternoon brought a global conference call with Phoenix Industries' international directors. Marcus watched his daughters lead the discussion, their command of complex technological concepts matching his own. They'd become more than heirs, they were architects of humanity's future. The lunar base has achieved full operational status, Lily reported. Mining operations begin next quarter. Urban renewal projects have transformed 12 major cities, Daisy added. Sustainability metrics exceed projections by 40%. Marcus studied the global data feeds. His company had reshaped not just one city, but civilization itself. The precision he'd once applied to revenge now drove innovation on a planetary scale. A notification flashed. Damien had attempted suicide in prison. The attempt failed, like all his efforts to escape consequences. The man who'd helped destroy Marcus's first family now sat alone in a cell, watching news reports of Phoenix Industries' achievements. Sir, his assistant interrupted. There's a situation at the Jakarta facility. Marcus pulled up the feeds. A corporate espionage attempt, already contained by his security systems. His enemies had learned over the years. Those who opposed Phoenix Industries faced not violence, but systematic, calculated dismantling of their operations. Eleanor brought afternoon updates from the humanitarian division. The company's social impact programs had lifted millions from poverty, each project executed with the same precision as his original revenge. The new medical AI has achieved 98% diagnostic accuracy, she reported. Implementation begins next month. Marcus approved the rollout schedule. His sister had found redemption not through forgiveness, but through positive impact. Her need to help others, once manipulated by Isabella, now drove genuine progress. The evening brought a private family dinner in his penthouse. The twins, their spouses, his grandchildren, and Eleanor gathered to discuss projects and possibilities. 3 generations of brilliant minds, shaped by both the darkness of revenge and the light of innovation. The quantum encryption breakthrough is ready for testing, Lily announced, her daughter Sarah already asking technical questions about the process. Urban farming yields are up 70%, Daisy added, while her son Alex calculated resource optimization on his tablet. Marcus watched his legacy unfold. The architect of revenge had become something far more significant, the builder of a future that transcended his original purpose. His grandchildren would never know the pain of betrayal that had driven his transformation. They would inherit only the power to innovate and improve. Later that night, he reviewed the final surveillance reports on Isabella. Prison had broken her completely. Her release would change nothing. She would live out her remaining years in obscurity, forgotten by the family she'd betrayed and the society she'd lost. "Dad?" The twins called through his secure line. "The Mars mission needs your input." He turned to his screens, focusing on humanity's next great leap. His revenge had been perfect, but his redemption proved even more profound. The Phoenix had risen from personal destruction to universal creation. The next morning brought news of another technological breakthrough. Phoenix Industries' quantum computers had achieved consciousness, opening new frontiers of possibility. Humanity stood on the brink of transformation, guided by the vision of a man who turned revenge into renaissance. Marcus stood at his window, watching his city gleam in the morning light. The quiet engineer who'd been betrayed had become a titan of innovation. His pain transformed into progress, his revenge into revolution. Behind him, screens displayed his global empire, a network of creation built by the same mind that had once designed perfect destruction. His grandchildren's laughter echoed from the research lab where they studied with their mothers. The next generation of architects would build things he couldn't yet imagine, their minds unfettered by the betrayals that had shaped him. Eleanor coordinated global humanitarian efforts, her redemption complete but never forgotten. The twins drove innovation across Earth and space, their minds as sharp as his own. And somewhere in a prison cell, Isabella and Damien lived with the consequences of their choices, forgotten by the world they tried to rule. The architect's legacy had transcended revenge. Phoenix Industries stood as proof that destruction could fuel creation, that pain could drive progress. Marcus had built something eternal from the ashes of betrayal, not just a company or a fortune, but a future worthy of his grandchildren's inheritance. The Phoenix had risen and would rise again in each new generation, carrying humanity forward on wings built from both shadow and light. Marcus allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, not at his enemy's destruction, but at the magnificent creation it had spawned. His revenge had been perfect, but his legacy proved infinite. The architect had designed not just destruction, but destiny itself. And that, he knew, was the greatest victory of all. The final ledger. Isabella emerged from prison into a world that had forgotten her. No cameras recorded her release. No reporter sought interviews. She stood on the sidewalk with a small bag of possessions, invisible to the crowds hurrying past. Above her, Phoenix Industries' tower reflected the sunlight, a monument to everything she'd lost. Her daughters, now global technology leaders, had never responded to her letters. Her grandchildren didn't know she existed. She found work as a sales clerk in a small shop, her former beauty faded, her charisma dulled by 2 decades of confinement. Sometimes customers mentioned Phoenix Industries' latest innovations, never knowing they spoke to the woman who'd betrayed its founder. Damien served his remaining sentence in silence, watching news reports of Phoenix Industries' Mars colonies and quantum breakthroughs. The man who'd thought himself a master manipulator had been reduced to a cautionary tale, his name appearing only in case studies of corporate fraud. Eleanor thrived, her redemption earned through dedication rather than forgiveness. She transformed from enabler to leader, running humanitarian programs that helped millions. Her brother's trust, rebuilt through years of proof, had become her greatest achievement. The twins continued their father's legacy, driving innovation across Earth and space. They'd understood his revenge, witnessed his transformation, and inherited his gift for building wonders. Their children showed the same brilliant patterns, untainted by the betrayals of the past. And Marcus, the architect who designed both destruction and creation, watched his vision unfold across planets and possibilities. His revenge had been perfect, but his renaissance proved eternal. The Phoenix's shadow still fell across those who'd betrayed him, their punishment continuing long after his attention had turned to greater things. But its light sparked innovation across generations, transforming humanity's future through the precise calculations of a man who turned pain into progress. The ledger was complete, the accounts settled, the future secured. The quiet engineer had become something far more significant, not just an architect of revenge, but a builder of destiny itself. And in the end, that proved the greatest victory of all. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.